So today's lesson is actually one of two reviews for the Chapter 11 test, and the second review will be next week, the week that we do take the test. So let's get started here. And number one, it asks us to name a secant. Now, a secant has to be a line, so I know it has to have a line symbol. And then it has to go through the circle at 2 points. So an example of a secant line would be AD, line AD. A diameter. A diameter is really a chord that passes through the center of the circle. So it can be a distance or it can be a segment. Usually when they ask you to name it, they're asking for the segment. So I put a segment symbol, and then I'm going to put C to E. In the next question, they ask us to find the measure of angle DGE. D to G to E. Well, D to G to E, this angle right here, is 123 degrees. And they want us to find the arc D to E. Well, a central angle equals the arc, so that means that that's going to be 123 degrees. A central angle equals the arc. In the last one in this first page here, they gave us the arc B to E was 116. So this arc right here is 116 degrees. And they ask us to find the measure of angle BCE. Angle BCE, that's an inscribed angle. And recall that an inscribed angle, also sometimes called an on angle, is equal to half of the arc. So I'm going to have to take half of 116. And if I take half of 116, I get 58. Okay, a few more vocabulary questions. The next question asked us to name a radius. A radius can be a distance from the center of a circle to a point on the circle, or it can be a segment. Usually when they ask you to name a radius, they want the segment. So if I go from G to the D, segment GD. Now a chord. A chord must be a segment. So I know that for sure. I'm going to put the segment symbol. And it has to have two endpoints on the circle. So if I look here, BC, segment BC would be a chord. Now they ask us to name some arcs. A minor arc is named with two letters and less than 180 degrees, half a circle. So a minor arc up here might be D to E with the arc symbol on the top. A semicircle. A semicircle is named with three letters and it's exactly 180 degrees. So D to E to A with the arc symbol would be a semicircle. A major arc named with three letters, and it has to be more than 180 degrees. So a major arc could be D through E and A up to B. So I'm going to call it D, A, B with the arc symbol. Okay, the rest of this review is going to be on solving for missing angles or missing arcs. And we'll first classify each one. So this is an outside angle. And an outside angle is equal to half the difference of the arcs. Before we can find that angle, we're going to have to find this missing arc. So to find that missing arc, we're going to take 360 minus 78 minus 98 minus 108. And I find out that that's 76. So my angle X will be equal to half the big arc minus the small arc. So my X will be equal to 11 degrees. The next one is what we called an inside angle. An inside angle is equal to half the sum of the arcs. And the two arcs that we're working with here are this one and this one. We already knew those, so the X would equal 1/2 56 plus 54. My X will equal 55 degrees. The next one, this was one that we called an on angle. It's inscribed. It's equal to half the arc. So the X will be equal to just half of 128. X would be equal to 64. The next one. Now, in the next one, they actually talk about two different angles. They talk about angle A to B to C. So here's A to B to C. The arc that's associated with it is the arc AC out here. The second angle they talk about is angle C to D to A. C to D to A. Well, that has the same arc. Since they have the same arc, we have congruent angles. So I will set them equal to each other. 3x minus 5 equals 2x plus 15. Subtract 2x on both sides. Add 5. So x is 20. But they did ask us to find the measure of ABC. So I'm going to take 3 times 20 minus 5. The measure of angle ABC would be 55. The next one. Now, in this next problem, since we have a diameter given to us, we know that this arc out here is 180 degrees. So that means the angle ABC is going to equal half of 180 degrees. So it's 90 degrees. in an inscribed quadrilateral, there's a couple of different things that we know. We know the opposite angles are supplementary. But I think we can find y first. Now, angle y is actually this angle right here. The arc that goes with it is this arc out here. So what we have there is, we have an on angle. It's equal to half of the arc. Now that arc is 120 plus 100, so that's 220 degrees. So the y is going to be equal to 1/2 of 220 degrees. The y is 110 degrees. And then we can use the idea that they're supplementary. So x plus 110 equals 180. X would equal 70. The next question. Now, in the next question, they give us the measure of angle DGE, D to G to E. So this one is 123 degrees. Hey, we had that at the beginning. Now we're supposed to find the measure of the arc. The arc is out here. Central angle equals the arc. So the measure of D to E would be 123 degrees. In this next problem, they give us that arc C to D is 42. So this arc out here is 42 degrees. And then they tell us the measure of C to G to D, the angle C to G to D. So this angle right here, which is the central angle, is 4x minus 6. So that means a central angle equals the arc. So 4x minus 6 equals 42. Add 6, 4x equals 48. X equals 12. Now this one has several questions with the same diagram. We're looking for the arc from D to E. Well, we have vertical angles. So the arc from D to E is going to be 47 degrees. Then they ask us for the measure of angle AOE. Angle A to O to E, right there, I can use a linear pair. (180 minus 47). And 180 minus 47 gives me 133. And then angle D to O to B. D to O to B. Well, D to O to B would be this one. And once again, I can use a linear pair. (180 minus 47). The next one, Now, they ask us to solve for x. But first, let's find this arc out here. What we have here is an inside an on angle. An on angle equals half the arc. So to go out to there, I have to take 2 times 41. So this would be 82 degrees. And then I use a full circle. So 137 plus 82 plus 12x minus 3 equals 360. Combining like terms, 137 plus 82 minus 3, 216. Subtract 216 on both sides. 12x equals 144. Divide by 12, and I get 12. Here we have an outside angle. Outside angle equals half the difference of the arcs. But again, we're missing one of our arcs. So first, we're going to find this arc. To find that arc, we'll take 360 minus 81 minus 102. $177. So our outside angle is equal to 1/2. 177 minus 81. 5x plus 3 equals 1/2. 177 minus 81. 96. Half of 96. 48. Subtract 3. Divide by 5. Opposite angles of an inscribed quadrilateral are supplementary. So if I add 17x plus 2 to 9x minus 5, I get 180. Combining like terms, 26x minus 3 equals 180. Add 3, 26x equals 183. 183 divided by 26. $183 divided by 26. And that doesn't reduce. Number 28 has several questions that go with the same problem. So it doesn't matter which one we find first. Now the angle CAB is 43. C to A to B. So this one over here is 43 degrees. And then the arc from A to D is 142. So this arc right out here, that arc is 142. Okay, well, I think there's an easy one to find first. And that's because angle 3 has to be 90 degrees. And that's because this arc, all the way out here, That's a semicircle. So that's 180 degrees. Okay? Now, the next one that I think we could find is angle 5. And that's because angle 5 is going to be a half of 142. Okay. And now let's see what we can find next. Well, I think that we can find the arc that goes right here. And I can find that by taking 360 minus 142 minus 180. So that's 38 degrees. And then this one is going to be half of 38. So that is 19. So this one's 19 degrees. Okay. Arc B to C. So we'll find this one. B to C. Okay, actually I think instead we're going to find B to C, because B to C actually goes with, let me find a color here, goes with the 43. So the measure of B to C, oh, sorry about that. The measure of arc B to C is going to equal 2 times 43. So that means that this one's going to be 86. Okay, and then we can find B to A. So B to A equals 180 minus 86. Measure of B to A equals 94. And the measure of angle 1 equals half of 94. So that's 47. Okay. Angle 2 is going to be 94. Central angle. Arc is 94. And that leaves angle 4. Now to find angle 4, some of the angles in a triangle. So we have 43. Oh, sorry. So we'll take 180 minus 43 minus 94. And we get 43 degrees. That was kind of a complicated one. Let's end on one that's not quite as bad. So here we have an inside angle. It will be equal to half the sum of the arcs. So 72 minus 4x will equal 1/2 181 plus 51. 72 minus 4x equals 116. Subtract 72. Divide by negative